What's up, y'all? Welcome to Watchworthy. I'm your co-host, Miss Chris D.
And it's your co-host, Brother Ash. We in the building.
Yes, on today's episode, we are discussing the 2025 Peacock Original. Just came out, hot off the presses. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
We're talking about Diddy. This came out in 2025, and it's called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy.
He's a bad boy. So before we say anything, I just want to preface this by the classic 50 Cent line from the Power series. He did that shit. Whatever they say he did that shit. He guilty as fuck.
Yeah, as you guys
Now
can
we can
imagine
watch.
what side of the coin we're on.
Yeah.
We pretty much both agree that we believe the victims of Diddy's alleged crimes. I have to say allegedly. He is allegedly accused of these crimes because I'm not trying to get Watchworthy sued, okay? So we do have to preface that. Well, because, babe, breaking news, he just sued NBC Universal for creating this documentary.
What's funny about he would be the type of dude to definitely sue a couple that's making podcast episodes in their basement.
He probably would sue us.
But yo, you know what? Part of me don't even care because I'm like, well, obviously I care. Like I don't got the money.
No, but you're right. We shouldn't be scared of him. He's just a man, and a lot of people are scared of him because of his power, his influence, his money, and that's kind of why it took so long for this story to come out. It's kind of a story that's been building for decades.
People real life terrified of this man. I'm not terrified of this man, bro.
Yeah.
And we gonna get into it and all of that, but yeah, he did it.
So this documentary features, obviously, Diddy is suing for defamation because it features people who don't like him, don't have anything nice to say about him. I honestly don't think there was one good thing to say about him in the documentary.
I think his childhood friend highlighted some, characteristics that he remembers. But
That's true.
He did acknowledge though. He said
he ain't the same person. Yeah.
He drawing for real.
So as Brother Ash mentioned, the documentary features Diddy's childhood friends, his bodyguard, his ex-bodyguard, I should say. That's a person who kind of wised up and left him when the time was right.
Yeah.
Who else? They featured his assistant. They featured Albie Shore. He was prevalently involved in the documentary. We know he had some choice words for Diddy, so he's definitely not a fan of him. So again, we have to take this as it is because it hasn't been tried in a legal court yet. So the court proceedings they're proceeding, and that's all we can say about that. But we are here to kind of point out what this documentary taught us, some red flags. We're not going to give you, Diddy's whole timeline necessarily because I feel like this documentary didn't focus too much on the timeline about, if you want a documentary about how he, built Bad Boy and became the head of Def Jam and all that stuff, this is not the documentary.
There's enough out there about that because he's such a boastful person. We know his story, or at least the story he wanted to tell us.
Exactly.
When it comes to his success. But this documentary, we got to see a little bit of what made this monster.
Yes.
Not the mogul, the monster.
Yeah. So maybe you could just start with a little bit about his background, babe.
So let's first things first. We all know I grew up in a suburban neighborhood close to a lot of inner cities. So a lot of black families came from, different ghettos in New Jersey, different hoods in Jersey. And it's always that one kid in a Willenboro classroom that's like from Camden or from Trenton or from Philly, and it's the hardest nigga alive. Like, gangster shit was invented with this nigga. And that reminded me of Diddy, because Diddy is known, like, for being this kind of hardcore person, but it actually was his father that was actually a gangster.
Yeah.
So Diddy's father was a gangster, and he died when he was a baby, but because his dad was who he was pretty, well off. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of gave him an interesting background, because you always think, oh, Diddy, he's this guy from Harlem.
Right.
Wasn't even really from Harlem.
Red flag. Because this documentary really opened my eyes to, like you said, Diddy's one of those people like, yo, I'm from Harlem, I rep Harlem. And they even have like written it into his autobiographies, like, oh, he grew up from nothing in Harlem. But to learn in this documentary, he actually grew up in Mount Vernon, but just like hung out in Harlem. Yeah. I don't think you should really claim Harlem like that for real. Like,
so the one thing I can say is true to Diddy form, he is a hustler. His mother was a hustler. And, his dad left them some bread, and they built a house in Mount Vernon. That's where he actually grew up. That's where his childhood friends are from. Those are the schools he went to. private school.
Yeah, if I could say, I feel like his little background story that they told us was giving like Kanan from Raising Kanan. I don't think you've seen that one in the Power universe, but Kanan, or I guess it's supposed to be 50 Cent's character.
Yeah.
His mother, his daddy went to jail when he was a baby, or died in the crossfire when he was a baby, so he didn't know him that well, and so his gangster mother raised him, and he had all the designer clothes and 1980s New York City, and so I feel like Diddy kind of had that upbringing. Like, it's not as hard as he likes people to think it was.
What's also interesting about Diddy's upbringing was his mom actually used to have adult parties. Red flag.
Yeah, that's
the Diddy parties didn't start with Diddy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that kind of reminds me of like the whole R. Kelly situation, when people are like, oh, well, he was a victim himself. Yes, Diddy may have been a victim of some things himself. As they discussed this documentary, like, no, a child should not be up at midnight while your parents are having nude parties and stuff like that.
And red flag, because there was a scene in this documentary that just made it click for me when he had a party at his house, right? One of the Diddy parties, famous Diddy parties. There was a point in the night where he demanded all the kids be put downstairs or in a room where they, the kids will be in here. They're not allowed to be anywhere else. And now we get to have fun. That just showed me that something happened. Where he, as a child, was exposed to some adult stuff. And now he thinks this is his way of, being a good person. Oh, I'm going to make sure the kids don't see what I might have seen growing up as a kid. And that's when I realized Diddy's life now is just who he has always been in a way. Like, yeah, he has a facade, but like the parties with the, like they said, like it'd be drugs there. It'd be people, he said he could have went in the room in his mom's house and seen people doing a little splacow. So it had me think like, damn, it's crazy to see, now this is what he's infamous for.
Yeah. Even though we don't want to believe that we are our childhood trauma, we have to admit that it impacts us in some way. And I think that is definitely, Diddy's kind of exhibit A there, especially what they talked about in the documentary about him getting teased a lot as a kid and being bullied.
Red flag.
Yeah, because that's why I feel like he became a bully himself. They said that he was always called soft. And I don't think that he was necessarily soft, but I just think that, how a kid might stand out in 1970s Harlem, a black kid, you might not be down with the gangsters and stuff. He was wearing designer clothes and stuff instead. So they also said he wasn't anything special at sports. Somebody said in the documentary.
They said Diddy literally just like, he was known for always being flashy, but he never stood out at particularly anything. You know what I mean? Like, he was on the team, but he wasn't super good.
Right.
Like, he hung out with them, but he wasn't like the ringleader or nothing. You feel me? Like,
so that's like you said, that's literally what we see today, where he's like trying to fit in. He's trying to be the coolest guy in the room. Yeah. He's trying to be the tough guy. Like, that's why he had that persona in the 90s, like the bad boy, like, I'll F you up, I'll kill you. You ain't gonna do ish. He probably never shot a gun in his life.
Yeah, so that was, he even like went as far as in his childhood to get jumped by a gang to get that approval. Like, he wanted to be a roughneck. You feel me? Like,
I'm rolling my eyes because what's somebody in private school trying to be in a gang for?
But that's, let's rewind the clock a little bit and what the culture was like back then. You feel me? It's sad that that's where young black men feel like they had to fit in. Like, he didn't have the positive role model of his father passing away early. And what happened was, in this time of him being in this gang, one of his childhood friends that was more of a positive older brother wasn't around for a little bit.
Yeah, so, Tim, the guy we talked about.
So in this time was when Diddy started to seek channels to fit in. Wasn't sports, wasn't school. So he literally would hang out with people that, was up to no good. And even voluntarily got fucked up. Like, I'm not about to let nobody whip my ass. You feel me? Like, just to be cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. I'm good off that.
They said the people in the gang didn't like him either. So, like, that was him trying to prove to, like, no, I'm one of you guys. So I just feel like Diddy's always just been like seeking validation, seeking approval. And I think that's what turns into an abuser, the type of person who like doesn't get what they want. Like,
when you see some of the stuff we hear now, it's like, oh, okay, that person was definitely abused. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, knowing what we know, about victims that we've covered, Diddy is definitely a victim.
But that's still no excuse. That's when you need to go to therapy.
It's no excuse.
You don't need to have a freak off party.
It's no excuse. The victim was given, opportunity after opportunity to change his life, and the victim became, you feel me, a monster. You know what I'm saying? It happened before everybody's eyes. He never had the chance to really learn right from wrong. You feel me? You went from a street kid, a wannabe street kid, being somebody you not, to now you one of the biggest moguls in the industry.
And so he did go to college. I don't think he finished at Howard, but he did go to Howard. He went to HBCU. So even that, I hate the fact that like Howard has given him like an honorary doctorate degree or whatever.
That's hilarious. I didn't know
that. It's terrible. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's like, he represents, like you said, he kind of represents like the black business mogul, the first black man to like, you know.
Yeah.
He's the one who had Sean John and all these other things going for him. And it was beyond the music. He was a whole lifestyle. And so for him to even go to a HBCU, they act like, oh, Diddy reps the HBCUs. He was a piece of shit then. They had somebody in the documentary talk about how he abused a girl at Howard and how they was fighting outside the dorm. And it was so bad, people started peeking their head out like, yo, sis, you good down there? And he was like, mind y'all fucking business or I'll fuck y'all up too. Like, if you're talking like
crazy.
that at
that's
18,
crazy.
19 years
red
old.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Because I was that type of nigga. Like, now Diddy is to the point now he got all these million, you feel me? Like, he really feel like he untouchable. In a lot of ways he is. You feel me? Like, you got to have a certain amount of resources to fuck with people like, you know, Diddy. But I was the type of nigga when I was in college, if I seen a girl getting her ass whooped and a nigga tell me to
mind your business.
Or I'm going to get fucked up too. I'm going to just have to get fucked up too that day. Like, I'm going to need you to fuck me up, bro. Because I'm not about to just let you fuck up this woman. Like, it has happened to me when I was in college before. Like, where I seen shit like that go down. And it's just interesting to me that nobody at Diddy was able to,
even at that age,
put the fear of God into people. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like, he kind of always was able to, you know, sway people like that.
So yeah, I guess college is right around. He said that he always loved music. He always spoke into existence like, I'm a work in this field. Yeah. And that's when he like became a party promoter. You know how the college party promoters were. I didn't like them when I was in college.
Yeah.
Those niggas were always flashy, always doing the most, always womenizers.
I was friends with promoters because I was a bouncer at a club. So like, I had promoters that was friends, and they are so fucking annoying, bro.
Annoying.
Like, but they good to have.
Yeah, I guess if you want to get into parties,
if that's what you into, like a good promoter go a long way.
And so I think they talked about, like you said, people think like, oh, he just had this jump to stardom like that. He just created Bad Boy. No, he had to put in his work as an intern, annoyed his way into being an intern at Interscope, I think it was, or not Interscope, but one of them labels.
It was
one of the first early black labels.
Damn, I'm forgetting what it was.
I think it was Def Jam. No,
not Def Jam.
Whatever. Watch the documentary, y'all. Yeah. The point is, in those moments, that's where he started to get to know people like Heavy D. And so that's when Diddy started to, you know, like have bigger parties and have celebrities at his parties. And so I think at that point he had dropped Howard and he had, you know, moved to New York City to follow his dreams or whatever.
It was Uptown.
Uptown, yeah.
Uptown.
And so the City College Stampede, let's just talk about that for a second, babe, because I feel like this is a huge red flag. I'm glad the documentary covered it because I feel like this is a huge red flag where besides Diddy beating Cassie and beating women in modern day and you know, having freak off parties, he was just a terrible party promoter. Honestly, he wasn't really good at the business. And so a situation like the City College Stampede, long story short, he was hosting a celebrity basketball game, oversold way too many tickets. This is what I'm talking about.
It's all about money.
Yeah, it's all about money. I hate that.
It's always been about money with Diddy. Money and power.
I hate that. You oversold the tickets. You even specifically, one of the victims' brothers was in the documentary. He was like, he specifically sought out my sister and was like, oh, y'all gotta come. I got tickets waiting for y'all. So like, you knew it was overcrowded and you were still inviting people that you consider friends. You were putting them in harm's way because the place got so packed, they had to close the doors and lock the doors. That, I don't know if that specifically came from him or security, who was the one who was like, nah, close the doors. But if you're supposed to be the host of this event, you have to have eyes everywhere, and you should know that wasn't a good idea. If they had just let those doors open, let the people flood in, maybe this would have never happened. But they decided to close the doors, and everybody stampeded towards the doors. People got crushed. People got trampled. 9 people died. Now, the documentary, you'll have some people who were like, no, Diddy was good. He was giving CPR that day. He was helping people out. Then you have some people who are like, no, he was wandering around looking stupid, wondering when is the event going to go on.
Yeah.
So we'll let you watch the footage for yourself and you decide, is this somebody who's walking around in a panic or somebody who's trying to help? Now, I don't know. To me, it was given like the show must go on.
The red flag for me rose when some of the victims' family members that he knew, like outside of them just buying tickets to his event, how he responded to it. He tried to just throw a lot of money at people, and it wasn't really a lot of empathy there. Like, and I guess like it's not really a lot of emotion with Diddy. It seems like everything is focused around money and success. So like he's seen that as a a bad for business thing. So he tried to get ahead of it by buying people out. I thought that was situations like that is weird because why are y'all stampeding to get into anywhere?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But as a club promoter, as a businessman, you do have to be mindful of people's safety at all times. But some situations you can't really predict, but how you respond to them.
Yeah, I didn't like the response.
Yeah.
I didn't like how he was like on the New York City news, like, oh, we're so sorry this happened. My name is Sean Diddy Combs, by the way, and I throw really great parties and they're usually better than this. Like, that's not the kind of attitude you should have when 9 people just died.
And it was also a shooting in New York City that he has something to do with in 1999. So this is all like
way before Cassie or Kim Porter, or anything that we're hearing about as far as his abuse with women. Before that, he was just a shitty person. Apparently, he was at the nightclub. Somebody looked at him weird. Some guns came out. And the survivor in the documentary, she was like, I know for a fact it was Sean Diddy Combs who shot me. But basically, he must have talked somebody else into taking the rap. Yeah. This rapper named Shine ended up doing 8 out of 10 years for committing this crime, even though eyewitnesses said it was Sean Diddy Combs who was shooting.
Red flag.
So again, getting other people to take the fall for you.
Yeah.
Just resorting to violence. Why was your gun out at the club anyway? So
a lot of people, allegedly said that he would make a threat like it's nothing. Like, I'll do this to your family, or I'll kill you, or if you don't do this. So ain't no telling what really happened with that.
Yeah.
There also, was alleged abuse of Kim Porter at the time. So people was thinking that he was being abusive towards her.
I didn't know much about their relationship while they were dating.
Me
I just
neither.
knew like that's Quincy's mom and like that's Diddy's baby mom. And so to find out that he basically snatched Kim Porter from under Albie Shore, like that was his woman first. That was the love of his life. Albie Shore was in the documentary and was like, I swear to God, this would have never happened if she never met Diddy. But that goes to show his influence, right? Oh, it's Sean Diddy Combs. He's showing interest in me. Oh, he's so charming. The worst serial killers, the worst type of people be so charming, right?
I ain't gonna lie, yo. That's part of that's on her. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't.
You're right. Maybe she shouldn't have started fucking with him.
Like, that's why it's important for you not to go after nobody just because of their status. Like, and I'm, we wasn't there. I don't know. He could have swept her away with charm, whatever. But like, it seemed as though Albie Shore was a lot more respectful.
He was hurt.
Towards her. You know what I'm saying? And for her to, like, Diddy ain't kidnap her. Well, shit, maybe he...
Well, that's the thing, right? Like you said, we don't know what on behind closed doors, but from what friends say, there was people in the documentary who were like, oh, we went out to a club with Kim, as a girls' night, and then Diddy ended up showing up at the same club. And it was like, were you following her, or do you just be out at the club? And so when he saw them, it was like, nah, get up, Kim. Like, you ain't gonna be out with these girls.
And the story,
how are you gonna tell me what I'm gonna do as a grown woman?
And the story goes like he wasn't discreet about it. Like, cause him and Albie Shore obviously had a working relationship, and it wasn't like, yo, like I'm gonna wait until my boy mess up. It was like, nah, like Kim's about to be my girl type shit.
Yeah.
So it was a very, messy situation, but there was alleged abuse there. There was alleged abuse with the Making the Band. Some of the artists that was on Making the Band, Aubrey O'Day, was fired from Danity Kane for not allowing Combs to make sexual advances
allegedly
towards her. We said
it.
all of it was alleged. Like, I'm tired of using this fucking word. Like, these people not just making this shit up. You feel me?
You're right.
We know it happens in the industry all the time, and we put in the allegedly blanket over all of this. But like, when you compare stories, because we also seen another Diddy documentary on an entirely different channel, and some of the stories are parallel.
We're talking about the Peacock documentary, but we also watched the docuseries that's on HBO Max, and literally they both featured some of the same interviews, like some of the same people telling their story twice.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show, like, people aren't changing their stories, and there's more people coming out than more people retracting. So
what's crazy about this, the more successful he becomes over the time, the more horrific the stories are.
Yeah.
Like
going back to the Making the Band thing, I watched Making the Band in real time. Day 26, Danny DeCane, who wasn't tuned in at that time? And I just can't believe that I was among the people who was laughing at making people walk 8 miles for some cheesecake. That's abuse. That is workplace
crazy.
abuse.
That's crazy.
So even if it's not sexual in nature, he verbally and emotionally ruined these people. Going back to Danny DeCane, he told the women, "Oh, you're too fat or you're too thin. Oh, if you don't have sex with me, you're not going to be in the band." Forget it then. I don't want to be in the band. And that's why those women. That's why Danny DeCane is no longer here, y'all. Like he literally dangled the carrot of stardom in front of their face. They came out with one album and then they were kaput because Diddy said so. And I just hate that he has that much power over people. That he can ruin your career or he can blackball you and you'll never get a chance in this industry again.
Yeah, Diddy, he been making so much money for so long. He has like once you get into that bracket, like it comes with access to lawyers, it comes with access to
DAs
to files and information on people. Like and it's sad to see like. So now, like, let's fast forward. Let's talk about the situation that really blew this whole Diddy, fiasco up live. It was the Cassie video. So the video of Cassie being chased in like a hotel and him abusing her by the elevator, like it really kind of showed people like, and it was interesting seeing his friends react to this, what he's capable of. Like that's what he had something click. Like, if you think he acted like that in the public space, how you think Diddy is acting
in private,
in the corners of these parties in his mansions? You know what I'm saying?
It's a scary thing to think about. When I saw that video, number one, I saw a woman trying to run for her life. It's very clear she wasn't. It looked like she was trying to sneak out. She had her go bag, she had her hood up, and she was trying to sneak out while he was in the shower. So for you to run out naked while you in the shower to stop this woman,
in a towel.
Yeah. And for you to be out in the hallway, I don't know if they had the whole penthouse suite, like they probably had the whole hallway to themselves. But still, for you to know that you're in a public place and there's cameras and you're at the elevator bank doing this, you can see the devil in him. That was pure devil. And it was just really sad because it took like rogue hotel worker to finally report the video.
Uh-huh.
And it's just sad because other people would turn the other way. Other people would be like, "Oh, that's not my business." Oh, like you said, how people reacted. Some people were like, "Oh, well, that's just what they do behind closed doors. That's their relationship."
Yeah,
no,
nah, bro.
Abuse of a woman is abuse of a woman.
I don't know
care who it is.
Who needs the clarity, but I don't care what door you're behind. It's never okay to kick somebody in the fucking head.
Yeah.
Like, unless your life is in danger, like, and it's like, but these are two people who's supposed to be in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Like, you should never be running down the hall. Like, there's no situation where I can imagine myself chasing Miss Chris D down the hallway in a fucking towel.
Yeah.
Like, let alone abusing her. But like, just for her to be trying to sneak away and for him to be like coming with that is wild. But what's crazier is how quickly the case settled.
Yeah, so you all remember as soon as that video popped up, it was like, no, I think she came out with her lawsuit first, then the video leaked, then he came out with his little fake ass apology, which he never really said, "I apologize for putting my hands on Cassie Ventura."
That was crazy.
It was like, "I'm working on it, I'm working on me," playing the God card. And so for that to settle, everybody was like, "Oh, damn, Cassie, like you really took the deal." But you don't know what that victim is going through. She probably just did not want to be dragged through court, did not want to ever see that man again or have to stand on the trial and stand on the stand and talk about him.
Yeah.
So she probably did take the settlement. I don't know what her reasoning is.
And I encourage y'all to watch these documentaries about Sean Puffy Combs, because you start to see, what type of power he had over these people and what he might have been able to say to somebody like Cassie or her legal team to convince them to take a deal. So I'm not surprised.
And like you said, we know the people who was at his type of functions. We probably don't even know half the people. We would be surprised to know the people who was at his functions.
Yeah.
We recently watched Jamie Foxx's comedy special. He was like, "Yeah, I was at the Diddy parties, but I left before it got crazy." He was like, "Why is it getting slippery in here?"
Yeah, for real though. And with the freak off parties, it's interesting. We talked about earlier how he was, a stickler for making sure kids weren't around and stuff like that. But it was also interesting because he had people, like you said, who were specifically into that side of the party.
Yeah.
Like the Denzels and, some of the other celebrities you might see at this party, they left at a certain time or they just didn't partake. Diddy has specific people that was into the freak
They
offs.
did mention
Yeah.
it was a circle. It was a close knit circle of people
Yeah.
who were into this stuff. And we have to talk about the enablers